The sheer audacity of playing elevator music right after Irving's death. I know death is not permanent in this show, but damn. Hello, my name is Joe. I review TV shows on YouTube and Patreon, and what the hell? We got the confirmation that Helly is not Helly and is Helena. It wasn't a shocker, it was really just very satisfying, like, yes, I know it. But I need to address this right away because throughout the entirety of that steamy tent scene, I was thinking, if this really turns out not to be Helly, I'm gonna have a problem with it. And then it turns out it's not Helly, and I have a problem with it because I feel like not a lot of people are going to touch on this because it's a man and a woman and he looks her age and all of that, but I'm going to spell it out. That was assault. That was assault because, first of all, even though Mark looks her age, he is not. Second of all, she was a different person than who he thought she was. And third of all, she was clearly taking advantage of him to try to manipulate him and force him to forget his wife. Well, is out his wife. That was, let's all say it together, assault. Assault. I already despise that character, and now I wish her death. Let's put it like that. I wish her death. But yeah, it was Helena all along. She was a mole. She was a spy. Clearly, and I mean even stated by her, clearly there to distract Mark and the others from hunting for Gemma and figuring out the truth. The best scenes in this episode were by far the scenes where Irving was interacting with Helena because he just knew. He knew from very early on in the episode that that was not Helly. And there was this scene, the scene in the tent, when he asks her directly. He's like, what did you see on the outside? Because I know you're lying. And for a moment, Helena clicks out of her Helly impersonation, and you see her facial expression changing and all that. And it's so obvious. It was so well done. I was screaming and crying on the floor. But yeah, we get the Helly reveal, the Helena reveal, and Irving, honestly, the MVP of this entire team, forces Milchick, oh my god, so sorry, Milkshake, to wake Helly up, and they get her back. And I mean, when he was walking to the forest, knowing full well that he was walking into his death, he was smiling, I'm finally going to be reunited with Bert or something like that. And to me, it reminded me of that one shot. Does anyone here know about this really low budget indie unknown movie called Sucker Punch? I can't believe I'm mentioning a Zack Snyder film while talking about Severance. But in Sucker Punch, Baby Doll, when she's being lobotomized, she has this kind of reaction in her face, this facial expression as if she's happy that it's happening, that she's happy that it's finally over. And that's what Irving kind of looked like. And we can't forget that Outie Irving is in some kind of conspiracy with someone else, is investigating Lumon. I mean, I think he's working with the reintegration doctor. So it's not the end for Irving is what I mean. His Outie is not going to stay put and he's going to probably continue investigating Lumon because he is obsessed with that image from... Now that I'm thinking, how does he have the image? Wait a minute, is Irving reintegrated already? No, because he said that his innie self got the message. So he can't be reintegrated, right? Could Irving be reintegrated? Is that why his outside self knows about that door? I didn't even think about it, because the person who is painting those paintings of the export store is Irving. But I'm just going to assume that it's because he has like nightmares about it. It's like it's his subconscious trying to pull on those memories rather than him being actually reintegrated. But I mean, who else could he be talking to on the phone? It has to be the reintegration lady, right? So maybe, no, but he can't be reintegrated, because then when Milkshake was switching him off, he wouldn't be switching off anything. He could pretend. Well, let's set this aside. Let's park this as one potential delusional theory that Irving has been reintegrated for a long ass time. Let's set this aside. This would explain why he is more aware of what's happening, why he was able to pick up on the clues that Helly wasn't Helena. But yeah, for now, I will stick to he's not reintegrated, but he's very much woke in both of his versions. But potentially, a delusional theory, Irving could already be reintegrated. And if he's not, and is going to be fired, and he is in communication with the reintegration lady, for sure he will be integrated in the future, right? And speaking of reintegration, we see Mark S. getting a glimpse of his memory from outside Mark. And I'm assuming the reintegration process is working and slowly is gonna get his memories all together. And honestly, well written from the showrunners, because this was my biggest worry. If Mark is going to be reintegrated and is going to start having his memories back, Helena, not being Helly, being Helena, is going to figure it out for sure. But now that Helly is back in, and potentially will be kept back in because now they will know the difference, maybe, he's safe from that, because even if he starts reintegrating in the middle of work, Helly won't say anything about it. So that was well done plotting on the showrunners. From everything that happened in this retreat, and Milkshake's positions and actions and all of that, I don't know, because in my last video I said that they lost him, like when they gave him the paintings with the black face, that was like the tip of the iceberg, and he's going to start to fall off from Lumon's manipulation over him or whatever. And someone commented on my video that they think that Milkshake might be a spy inside Lumon and be working with a reintegration lady. But I don't know, because with everything that happened in this day, but I mean, really all he did was read the book to them and give them instructions and burn the marshmallows. Maybe he is either a spy inside Lumon or slowly tipping towards the rebel side, but he still needs to keep his composure in front of the kid. And yeah, maybe it's gonna take a long time for him to tip over to the other side. That's what I said as well, maybe end of the season, kinda. But yeah, it still very much felt like Milkshake, like OG Milkshake in this episode. Which I didn't think it would. Like, I was expecting him to have a slightly different position from seeing those paintings and having that reaction towards Natalie. But yeah. Let's see if it progresses in the next episode. Or next episodes. Since we spend the entirety of the episode in that retreat, we don't get much development of the other characters. I mean, Riley is just going along for the ride, clearly. But one thing that I wanted to note is, because someone, again, another commenter commented that the fact that the technology in Lumon and in the Severance world seems so outdated is interesting, and it is. And I hadn't even considered it before. I just assumed it was like an aspect of the show. But of course it has to be important. Like, I don't think the showrunners would be making any decisions about the show that weren't relevant to the plot of the show. So I was thinking about that, and I was seeing the snow, and generally the show happens in a very cold place. Like, you never really see the sun. Did we ever seen the sun once in this show? And I'm thinking, is this all kind of like symbolism? As in, the show's technology, the show's world is frozen in time, and they live in a place that is literally frozen because it's always freaking winter and snowing. And what would be the purpose of the show being frozen in time or being set in a different time period? Because, I mean, if they have the technology to sever people and they don't have the technology that we have today for, like, I don't know, updated technology and updated looking technology, how did that happen? Like, how do they have a technology so advanced that they can detect, like, written notes in the elevator and everything still looks extremely outdated? Unless it was on purpose. Because that's the thing about a, like, mystery, thriller, freaky-ass show. The more elements you can put into it that look out of order, the creepier and more unsettling it looks. And maybe this is a decision from the showrunners, but maybe this is also meant to be a decision from Lumon, because clearly we can tell that Lumon runs the world. It's like a mega corporation that has their hands in everything. And wouldn't it make sense that if they are trying to, I don't know, rule the world, to create clones of everyone, I will get there, to reprogram people to become perfect corporate robots, wouldn't it make sense that they would specifically manipulate the way that this world looks to make it feel like this, to make it feel like they are frozen in time, to make it feel like unsettling? Because even though there is this extremely advanced technology, everything else is still dated. Like, is this the showrunners wanting us to feel unsettled, or is this Lumon wanting their workers and their world to feel unsettled? So, the twins. Listen, when I first saw those little creepy doubles of the characters, I thought, so they did figure out cloning, huh? But then we look at them and they are a little freaky. They look like those balloon people that flow in the wind, in the way that they point and that there's stuff. I don't know, it looks freaky. If they are clones of the office workers, they are like an early version. Clearly, Lumon hasn't completely figured out cloning, if those are supposed to be clones. Because they kind of like move like real people, and they only point when the workers look at them. That could be like machine controlled by milchick. But yeah, is that like the beginning of the cloning project at Lumon? Is that like version alpha or something of the project? And also, what was that story? Because I don't believe a single word they say, and here sitting in my chair watching this show, I'm thinking, no way he had a twin. But you have to think of this in a controlling perspective. Like, why would Lumon want them to know this? Why would Lumon want them to know that they have the capacity to create their twins? It's all about telling them how much they control. Why would they do a retreat in the middle of a frozen mountain? It's all about control. It's all about telling them we can do whatever we want with you. And even during their hike to the freaking tents that they didn't know existed, even during their hike, like, Irving kind of comes to, and he's like, oh, we don't know what they're doing. We don't know if there's food. We should probably eat this. Like, they are in a constant state of alert because they can never tell how far Lumon is going to take it. Because yes, they can't harm them, technically, but also, what would be 4 more employees with lawsuits against them? Because surely they have hundreds of employees with lawsuits against them. So what would be 4 more? So technically they can't harm them, but if it really came down to it, they could. And I think that's what they know. And I mean, Irving being the one who points this out, kinda in the way that he says that maybe they should eat the rotting animal, Maybe it's because Irving is reintegrated. Maybe it's just because he's more aware or less malleable because he lost Bert. But the fact is that to a certain extent, they realize that Lumon has a lot of control over them and could do a lot of harm to them. And it's always that hope. No, they couldn't do that. Surely they wouldn't do that because our outies would know. Surely they wouldn't do that. They would. If it came to it, they would. And I think that's what that scene meant to tell us. Like, there is a sense of security within the innies because they trust that Lumon can't harm their outies. Not that they don't want to harm their innies. They would do anything they wanted to the innies if they could, but they trust that they can't harm the outies or the outies' bodies. And that's where the sense of security comes from. But it's not infallible, and I think they're starting to wake up to that reality that if it really came to it, if they couldn't manage it any other way, they could harm them or do something to them because in the end, it's just for more lawsuits. Lumon, as we have come to understand, is huge. And then again, when they reach the biggest waterfall in the world, and freaking Milkshake says, "Oh, you're hungry? I thought the grandeur of the waterfall would satiate you." Satiate you? How do you say it? I don't know. I'm not an English native speaker. Satiate you. Whatever. He's messing with them. He's making fun of them in their faces with a straight face. Because isn't that the whole thing with Lumon? The grandeur of Lumon will fill you up. Because they don't have any dignity as Lumon employees. They don't have any freaking rights, barely. They are treated like livestock who come there to do whatever work that it is that they're doing. And they are supposed to be happy and fulfilled by finger traps. Like, that's the whole idea of Lumon. Oh, are you hungry? I thought you would be satiated full by the grandeur of the waterfall, by the grandeur of Lumon, by the grandeur of finger traps. Loved it. Last note, I didn't think that the reintegration would take this long. I thought it would be a more immediate process. I know that PD, was struggling with it and all of that, but I thought the next time we saw Mark S, he would be having a lot more episodes than just this one. But I guess it makes sense and they're going to drag it out to the rest of the season and he's slowly going to reintegrate. But yeah, I'm expecting for the next episode, them to get a new member for the team and for work to resume as usual. They're probably going to fill in Ellie with everything that happened and they're going to demand an explanation or something else and they're going to be just told to work. I guess they're probably going to insist on Mark a lot because they need Mark to finish the Cold Harbour file. Gemma's reprogramming. I'm really curious to see if they're going to show us what happens when Mark S finishes the Cold Harbour file, because surely that's the next thing, right? He has to finish the file. I want to see Gemma. I want to see where she's going. I want to see what the result of this damn reprogramming is. I keep calling it reprogramming. Might not be that, but it is in my head. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I certainly did. Check out my Prime Target reviews that I'm doing here on the channel. Check out my Paradise reviews that I'm doing on Patreon. I finally had my first Patreon this week. And yeah, guys, I'm going to post a movie list recommendation for Valentine's Day. I think I mentioned it in the video before, but it's coming out next week sometime, Tuesday probably. It's not what you think. It's really funny and it's a movie list to watch.